Good evening and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jing. I'm the Candid Filipina. Over the course of the last few months, much has happened regarding foreigners vlogging in the Philippines. Myself personally, I decided not to make any comments and to wait and let the law of the Philippines deal with them, which resulted in a few deportations and one who is still in custody and will be dealt with accordingly and appropriately. So, I did not see the need for me to give my opinion. All I can say is, I think they got what they deserve, and I'm sure it won't be the first and won't be the last case. What concerns me more is the fact that this could possibly tarnish the good name of foreigners here in the Philippines because of a silly minority. And over the next couple of months, I will ask the Filipino people that I interview if they feel their opinions have now changed towards foreigners. Hopefully not. But as the saying goes, if you throw enough mud, eventually it starts to stick. So keep tuned and let's try to find out if it has changed the opinion towards foreigners. However, one of the main reasons I'm making this video this evening is that it has started to gravely concern me about the increasing amount of foreigners that are going broke here and living on the streets. It does trouble me and makes me wonder how somebody coming here with generally well above the average of Filipino salary and can still end up broke. I chatted to many foreigners, and from what I gathered, most seem to come here for 2 or 3 months initially and fall in love, then return home, sell everything, lock, stock, and barrel, and move to the Philippines without really putting a great deal of thought into it. For an example, I will give a typical example of foreigner just retired or about to retire, wanting to get away from the rat race and realizing that things are too expensive to live on a pension comfortably in his own country. He was okay when he was working and on a bigger salary, but now things have changed for him. He has lived and worked hard all his life, but sadly, like most, he has had a broken marriage or two in the past, which ended up costing half his assets being split between him and his estranged wife, which generally happens later on in life and has resulted in a reset and no option but to start all over again. Very hard to do when, for example, you're age 50 plus and try to buy a house again. You will only be allowed now the mortgage for about 15 years, which doubles up your payment. And sometimes this is unachievable. So you are consequently pushed into renting and burn up your savings maybe. Or if you're lucky enough, you have a house to sell and some savings to be made out of that. But that's where the problems begin because the foreigner, as I said, falls in love, returns home after 3 months, and sells up everything. He comes here with just his state pension and some savings. If he's lucky, he might have met the right girl and all will work out well for him. But sadly, there is a good chance he may meet somebody who will quickly suck his savings dry and leave him with just his small state pension. At this stage, he finds himself in a position where he has nothing to go back. No house, no savings, no family, and certainly doesn't want to burden his children by him living with them. Let's say over the last year in the Philippines, he has got used to the highlights here, enjoying nights out, dating, traveling, hotels, women. It's been a fantastic 12 months. But now reality kicks in and he finds himself in this position, just like after he retired in his own country. He found he could not sustain a good lifestyle there. So he moved here to the Philippines, knowing that is cheaper here and you can still live well. But sadly, this dream has now become a nightmare. He can no longer start over or return home. How can he? He now has nothing to move to or go back to. So no choice, he has to stay here and try to make the best of it. But he is now living on bottom rung, no longer able to go out frequently or party with friends, hotels and visit other islands. No more expensive meals or elaborate lifestyle. Here in the Philippines, as soon as your money runs dry, your friends run dry also. What normally happens next is this foreigner now becomes a very depressed and feels his age. He now thinks that drinking excessively will stop his depression and drown his sorrow. But instead, it makes things worse. He becomes forgetful about collecting his pension and reporting yearly to the pension department for his proof of life in order to carry on getting his pension. So sad, really. When a guy has worked all his life and having the hardship of going through a couple of divorces, is now also having his dreams shattered when he comes here to the Philippines. What I'm trying to say is, if you have any assets back at home or a house in your home country, try your best not to sell it so that options and doors are still open for you to return if you need to. This is a very important factor to consider. I don't like to see anybody walking the streets drunk and homeless and a shadow of his former self. Of course, there are other reasons why people become homeless. Sometimes senile dementia, sometimes a mental illness, and sometimes an operation in this country that can cost well over 2 million pesos. This can quickly reset your savings back to zero. So, before you plan on taking a plunge and coming to live here permanently, please do stop. Take the time to think. Think and plan your future and options thoroughly. As I hate to see anybody destitute and walking the streets, whether they are Filipino or foreigner. It's not a pretty sight and it's quite often so sad to watch. So please, do think on how you are going to afford being here if you become ill or if you start to suffer from dementia or from some form of mental illness. Make sure you have a plan B for the future. Set aside the savings for all eventualities. Invest in a good medical insurance. Pay attention to your savings as they can quickly go through your fingers like sand. I like nothing better than to see a successful relationship. A foreigner with a beautiful Filipina on his arm. Both blissfully happy. We all dream of a life and love lasting and true. But sadly, we all know what this world can do. So please, do think long and hard about the advice I given. I don't profess I know it all. All I know is what I see and hear around me more and more frequently. And as I said, it's not nice. It's pitiful. Anyway, until the next time, God bless you all and good luck to your future and stay safe always. Bye for now, Jean.